Good morning, everyone. Are you able to hear me? Shata? I want everyone to come in the video mode, please. Please come in the video mode. Question number 14, 9, I think is Jaswina. Please come in the video mode.
Yes, sir, coming.
Everyone, please come in the video mode quickly. And one more suggestion for everyone: whenever you are switching on your video, see to it that the light is on your face, not behind. If the light is behind you, you will not be able to see it. See that the light is on your face. So, good morning, everyone. Okay, today, I would like to introduce a new faculty who would be handling a subject of international human resource management. So, I would like to introduce Mr. Indranil Uponi. He is an alumni of this particular college, and he has completed his MBA from University of Mumbai. He was working with L&T Infotech for a couple of years. He worked up to 2016 with L&T Infotech, and then on he has moved on a different assignment to Canada. Presently, he is serving in Air Canada. He is based out in Canada, and right now he is with us for a couple of months, and he would be handling the subject International Human Resource Management. So with this, I hand over the mic to the concerned faculty and expecting a good cooperation from all of you. The classes will be scheduled as per your timetable, and whatever assignments or any test or quiz or any presentation that the faculty gives it to you, see that you complete it in time. Whatever marks that he finalized, that will be the final marks will be considered. So take things seriously and wish you good luck for this particular subject. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. How is everyone doing? Just a moment, please. I'll just rotate the camera a little bit. Okay. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
Oh, thank you. So as Vaibhav sir said that I'll be handling the subject of international HR. And to begin with, let's start with the attendance for today. So do you all know your seat numbers, or do you want me to call by your names? Okay, so I'll call by the names. The first is Akila Girima,
Yes, sir. Present, sir.
Akshata Chiraldini,
Present, sir.
okay, Akshata Kamble, Ashwini Jiri, Dhanashri Bide,
Yes, sir.
Dhanashri Narvekar, oh, sorry, Dhanashri Nevrekar, okay, D'Souza Jasmina,
Present, sir.
Swapnil Ekwade, okay, Rohit Fatarpekar, and then university seat number 12, is it Vienna Ferreira?
Present, sir.
Okay, thank you. Gautami Tapali, Jyotiba Mutahekar, Pooja Kamath,
Present, sir.
Mayur Sinari, Meghna Jakati,
Present,
Mrunal-
sir.
Meghna Jakati is here.
Yes, sir. Present.
Mrunali, then it is university seat number 26, Mullah Ayman R,
Present, sir.
Omkar Namoji, Shrutika Pednekar,
Present, sir.
Pradnya Patil,
Present, sir.
Pragati
Present, sir.
Preeti Priyanka, university seat number 36, Rayani Zoboras,
Present, sir.
Rangoli Kundargi, Rashmi Magdu, Renuka Bhasme, Rohan Patil, Rohin Nadaf,
Present, sir.
Sanket Rasal, Shaila Rachanavan, Shushmita Bargali.
Yes, sir.
Sushmita is here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Sushmita Mani, Tejaswini Upari,
Present, sir.
and Saraswati Purni.
Yes, sir.
Have I missed out anyone?
Sir, Rohit.
What's your seat number 11? Rohit Fatarpekar?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anyone else missed out? Okay, so let's begin. Today is the first day. So, as you know, the subject is international HR. So, have you all studied the normal HR in your previous semesters?
Yes, so in first sem we have studied.
So this subject is basically a global extension of whatever you have studied in a normal HR. So if you're working in an MNC, say for example, like Infosys or TCS or IBM in an HR department, what aspects of international human resources that needs to be taken into account? This subject is going to cover all that. Do you have this syllabus copy with you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the first unit is basically the introduction part. To begin with, the introduction, definition, then the drivers of internationalization of business, the different setting, then how did or why did there was a development of IHRM, that is International Human Resource Management. Then what is the difference between the two? And then there are some of these models. One of these models, I have seen a couple of question papers. One of this model, it always comes in your university exam. And then there is a strategic human resource management. Have you also studied strategic management before? Yeah, so in case you haven't, the last part will cover the strategic part of the human resource management. So I'm going to share my presentation. Is everyone able to see this?
No, sir.
Okay, just a moment, please. Okay, so is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's my email ID. One of the person, or who is the class representative? So one person can, this is my email address in case you want to send me an email or anything. One person can just send me an email and then that person can then forward that email to rest of the group. Is that okay with you? Okay. So to begin with, can anyone just put in the chat what is the normal human resource management? Or one person can just come on the speaker or just turn on their audio and then just give a brief idea of what is normal HR that you have studied.
So human resource management is a process of managing the employees in an organization, culture, and environment. The human resource management, it mainly focuses on the recruitment, management, and direction of the employees present working in the organization.
Yeah, so that's correct. It all deals with recruitment, selection. So the first stage normally is the planning. You need to first plan how many people you need in an organization. Then will come the recruitment phase. Then will come the selection and then training and the placement and all those things. So to begin with, so this is a general field of HRM. And these are the activities that are undertaken by an organization to utilize its human resources effectively. So the first thing, as I said, is planning. You need to first know how many people the organization needs to hire. Then will come the staffing process, where you need to recruit, you need to select, and then you need to place all those candidates. Then will come the performance management, wherein you will be assessed as per certain goals that are given to you by your supervisor or your manager. Then will come the training and development. In case the manager thinks that you are falling short of something, then you will be given a training in that particular area. Then comes compensation, that is how much is your salary and all those things. And the last part, that is industrial relation, it normally comes in an unionized environment wherein all this labor laws and everything comes into picture. Is everyone good with this slide?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Ask me if there is any doubt. We can just go through the slide once again, or the particular topic. So the next, or the first topic in your syllabus, it says as Introduction to International Human Resource Management definition. So there is this model that has been proposed by a person called as Morgan. So this model of IHRM, it basically has 3 dimensions as per the diagram that is there on the screen. The first thing is your human resource activities, that is procure, allocate, and utilize. Now, procure is the same thing as planning, recruitment, and selection and placement. Then it comes is the phase or the stage of allocation, wherein the people who have been recruited, they need to be allocated to a particular department or a particular section of the organization. And then comes the utilization part. Utilization is basically, say for example, I am hired by an organization. Now, how do the organization utilize me? Depending upon the skill sets of my thing and depending upon what skill sets are required by the organization, the person will be utilized in an effective way. Now there is something called as countries in this international HRM. As I said, international HRM is basically a global perspective of the normal HRM that you have studied. So say for example, an organization as BSNL. Now BSNL is only in India. It is not present in any country outside India. So an organization like BSNL or State Bank of India, the human resource activities is limited to only one particular country, that is India. And if there is any other company, say for example, like Infosys or IBM or Google, now they are present in many countries across the globe. So there is something called as host country, a home country, and others. Now, a host country, as the word implies, host is where, say for example, I'm hosting somebody. That means I am allowing somebody to live at my place. So host country is something similar. Say for example, IBM. Now, IBM or any other company who is headquartered in a different country, say for example in US. Now, if a country like India tells an international organization to come to India and open up a subsidiary, then India becomes a host country. So basically, host country is one where a subsidiary is located. The home country is where the firm or the main organization is headquartered. As I said, organizations like Google, Facebook, IBM, they are all headquartered outside India. So the country where the organization is headquartered, that is the home country. The second one that you see in the diagram over here. And then others are the other countries may be the source of labor, finance, or in other inputs. Now, say for example, I'm just opening up, or I just want for less labor cost, I'm hiring people from a country like Philippines. Now, IBM, if it is present in US, it is just hiring people from a country like Philippines, then Philippines becomes an other country because it is only supplying labor or any other inputs that is required by the organization. And the same thing is with the types of employees. Now, host country nationals basically means that the people who are present in the host country. As I said, IBM, if it is present in US, if they come to India, they hire people from India, then all the country nationals of India, they become the host country nationals. Parent country nationals are those who are employed in the headquarters of the organization. So if, for example, a company is located or an organization is located in US, then all the employees employed by that headquarters in US, they become the parent country nationals. And then the third country nationals is the one that I was explaining in the last thing, that is, say for example, a company from US, they go to a country like Philippines just because of lower labor cost, and then those employees from Philippines, they become a third country. It's not like it is not about the ranking. It is only, it all depends on where the organization or where the employees are located. Is everyone clear with this model? Because this is basically the definition of international HR. This has also been asked a couple of times in your university exam. Does anyone have any doubt with this model?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay. So as I said, international HRM basically has three dimensions. The first one is the activities that are performed by the human resource department, that is procurement. Procurement is basically getting the people into the organization, like recruitment, selection. Then the next activity is allocation, which basically means people who are selected, how do we allocate them to the required department of the organization? Say there are 10 departments, you select 100 people. How do we allocate those 100 people into those 10 departments? That is the allocation part. And the third activity is the utilization. So as I said, depending upon your skill set, how does the organization utilize your capabilities? Say, for example, now all of you, I suppose you will be having a specialization in HR. Now, if an organization hires all of you, they need to make sure that you all are utilized in the area of human resources or something related to that. So that activity of utilization of the selected candidates is one of the human resource activity. The third dimension in this international HR is the national or country categories involved. As I said, first is the host country, which means where the subsidiary is located. Now, if we go to cities like Bangalore or Pune or Gurgaon, they have all offices of all the global organization located. So basically, India, it acts as a host country for all this global organization. Home country is where the firm is headquartered. So as I said, if an organization like Google or Facebook, who is located in the US, then US becomes the home country of that organization. And then other countries are from where they get labor, finance, and other inputs. And then there are three categories of the employees in an international firm. As I said, there are host country nationals. Then there are the parent country nationals, and then there are the third country nationals. So host country nationals are the one who are employed in the subsidiary. The parent country nationals are the ones who are working in the headquarters of the organization, and the third country nationals are the ones who are working in the third country. So all this country national, it depends on the nationality of the employee. So the nationality of the employee, it plays a major factor in determining the person's category, whether it is the host country national, whether it is a home country national, or whether a person is a third country national. It is all determined by the nationality of the employee. Now, say for example, my nationality is India. Now, if I'm located in a host country where a subsidiary is located, for example, say I work for Google from India, then I become a host country national. And any other person who is working in the US becomes a home country national for a firm like Google or Facebook, because they are located in the home country. And as per the or as per Morgan, sorry, Let me just come back one slide. Yeah, so as per Morgan, Morgan says that international human resource management, he defines it as an interplay among all these three dimensions. So what Morgan says is international HRM, it is all a close coordination between these three dimensions of the national or the countries involved and the three categories of the employees. So in case if in your university they ask a question on what is the definition of international HR, it will start with the model that was there in the previous slide. Then you will have to explain a little bit about these three dimensions. And lastly, as per the textbook, you will have to mention that Morgan says that international HRM is the interplay among the three dimensions, such as the HR activities, the national or country categories involved, and the three categories of employees. Any doubt or any queries from this slide or this section about definition of what international HR is?
No, sir.
Okay, so in a nutshell, international HR is just a global extension of what human resource management you have studied in the previous semesters. Now, these are a couple of other definitions that I found out in another book. There is this person called as Hugh Scullin. He says that international HR is the issues and problems arising from internationalization of business. Now, what is internationalization? Say, for example, I open a company in India. Now, if I have to expand my business or I have to expand my organization out of India into any other country like, say, US or somewhere in Europe, then that is called as internationalization. So basically, it means that whatever business I open in my country, when it goes on an international level, that is the internationalization of business. So what Hugh Scullin says is, whatever issues and problems comes in that process of internationalization of business is international human resource management, and the HR strategies, policies, and practices which firms pursue in response to internationalization process. So what strategy I should be adopting when I have to go on an international level? What should be my policy, or what should be my practice? So all that comes under international HR. And there is also another person with the name Teppo Moide. He says, or that person says that strategic process of managing a global and diverse pool of talented people to achieve aims and objectives of the organization at parent and subsidiary levels, follow human practices on human and business issues, and adaptable to local cultural norms and other human needs and aspirations. So basically it means that managing a diverse pool of talented people. Now, when you go on an international level, you have to manage a global pool of diverse. There will be people from various backgrounds, there will be people from various nationalities. Now, how do you manage all these pool of diverse and global nationals? That comes under international HR. And according to Teppo Moide, that is the strategic process to achieve the aims and objectives, follow human practices, and adaptable to local cultural norms. So this is just an additional information on the definition of HR. Any queries or anything?
No, sir.
No, sir.
So the
No,
next
sir.
slide is, or the next topic is, what makes a company to go on an international level? Now, I have an organization. What prompts me to expand my business to an international to expand my business into other countries, because we are now studying international HR. So when we study international HR, we must understand why does a business go on an international level. So as I said, internationalization is, or it occurs when a firm moves from operating only in its home market to international market. Now, as you all know, Infosys, it started in Bangalore when Narayan Murthy and Nanan Nilekani, they were just, they opened up a small unit and in Bangalore. And now Infosys is present in many countries across the globe. So what prompted Infosys or organizations like Infosys to go on an international level? Now, there are two factors that comes into picture. The first one is a pull factor, and then there is a push factor. So pull factor is proactive, or it is a forces of attraction which prompts an organization to go into an international market. So it is not a reactive process, it is a proactive process. So if I open an organization, I would think on myself, okay, now I have opened an organization in India. Let's go on an international level. So that is a proactive feeling from my side. Or if you guys open up an organization, if one of you decide, okay, I have to now open up a subsidiary in US or somewhere in Europe. So that is a proactive feeling from your side that you need to go on an international level. So one of the pull factor is growth when the domestic market potential saturates. So if I have a product, if it is saturated in the domestic market, that's when I will go on an international level, because there is nothing much I can do in the domestic market. The next thing, or the next factor, is profitability. Whenever a product is sold in an international market, normally it is expected that the owner or the company is going to get a higher revenue from the domestic market. So that is one of the profit factor which prompts an organization to go on an international level. The next factor is achieving economies of scale. Over here it says the large scale production capacities. Now, when, say for example, a country like China, they produce on a large scale. So that's when an organization will just produce and then they will go on an international level. We will just cover up a little bit. I see that there is a very little time left. So we will, and then we will continue tomorrow. Then it says that there is a risk spread. It basically means that don't put all the eggs in one basket. So when we have, or when there is subsidiaries in different countries, it reduces the dependence on one market. Say US goes into recession, at least I have a subsidiary in somewhere in, say, Europe, that can function normally and generate revenue. Then there is something called as access to imported inputs.